Welcome, everyone, back to Growing Smart, the Stronghold podcast. I'm your host, Thom. I have a special guest with me today, Mr. Michael Lauer. Before I introduce Michael, let me just remind everybody that we got a lot coming up here in 2020 with group coaching and sales training, leadership development, new stuff starting every week. So as you listen to the podcast, head on over to strongholdtraining.com and you will see everything we got going on. Michael and I have been working together for I don't know how many years now, over a year. And this will be the first of a series of podcasts I'll be doing on real estate. So we're going to be talking about real estate. If you're not in real estate, though, I want you to listen up because really we're talking about sales fundamentals today. So if you're an entrepreneur, salesperson, business owner, this will help you whether you're in real estate or not. But Michael is one of the, if not the most successful real estate agent I've had the pleasure to coach. And I think you're going to get a lot from this. So without further ado, let's get started. So, Michael, thank you so much for coming on Growing Smart. Pleasure to have you.
My pleasure to be here, Thom.
Have you ever done a podcast before?
Not like this.
I'm your first.
Yes, sir.
Are you a podcast listener?
Intermittent, yes.
Okay, good. What podcast do you listen to?
Part of the business referral network I'm in does quite a bit of podcasting.
Okay.
There's a variety of individual trainers specific to the real estate industry. I listen to a lot of their podcasts.
Okay. Yeah, I listen to some of those too. So my podcast is a little different. So just so you know, the way Growing Smart works is these are short podcasts. And instead of like having a lot of friendly banter and all that stuff, we can have some of that. But really, we're here to just talk about the nuts and bolts. Let's just give people the nuggets. This isn't a podcast that's entertainment focused. It's about get in, get out, get something that you can actually use. So no matter what we talk about, I always give people now go and do it in this way, step by step, how to implement it. It's rough. It's a rough podcast. That's why I didn't send you anything to prepare you. No preparation, no questions in advance. This is in no way scripted. We are farm to table, right? It's rough. It's fresh. I record a lot of these in my car, not in my car today, but it's farm to table. So don't worry. Be yourself. No one cares. We're just here for the content. So Michael, the reason I wanted to talk to you specifically is because not only your real estate success, but just how you have done that without fancy, expensive marketing, how you have done it without a lot of direct sales, but through networking and strategic partnerships, you have grown a real estate business that you are in the top of the leaderboard in the county. So Pinellas County, thriving county, all the beaches, thriving county in real estate. If I'm right in how I look at the numbers, the only people that are really even above you are people that have teams. So they're taking in their teams might be winning, but on an individual level, you are one of the top producing agents in the county without all that other stuff. So you might not even be the most known person in the county because you don't have your face on billboards all over, but you're killing it.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about how you got into growing a business without all that fancy stuff. Did you try it and it didn't work? Or how did this networking, strategic partnership thing come to be for you? How did you find that as an avenue?
Well, being from Chicago, and it is a city of contacts, I got a guy. That's like one of the base fundamentals of how I was raised, and relationship building to serve, right? It's not take, it's give. I know that if I give of myself to enough other people to help them with whatever they may need, they will think favorably of me, and the law of reciprocity is one of the big drivers for me. If I help enough other people, they in turn are going to want to help me back. And at some point I decided instead of randomly helping people, that I would try and find a couple of communities that I could strategically help that would also be able to help me back.
Well, that's the key right there. So I just did a webinar yesterday on strategic partnerships, and I had you top of mind while I was talking. I actually used, and I didn't use you by name and didn't go into the details, but I did mention you have strategic partnerships with like and like with attorneys, people like that. And it's one thing to, everyone knows givers gain. Everyone knows if I help people, I get helped. I mean, Zig Ziglar made that clear, and it's true. But it's about that focus, that I'm going to set a bullseye of who I'm going to help. It's a strategic partnership. So talk to me a little bit about how you develop those relationships. How do you identify strategic partners? How do you make sure it's not just you giving of yourself, and how do you keep it win-win? How do you seek that out? How'd that happen?
Well,
give us all your secrets, Michael.
Yeah.
All your competitors are listening.
Of course. Well, there is no way to eliminate the occasional give with zero chance of reciprocity happening. And the first few times that happens, it stings a little bit. But when you realize the majority of people really do feel good when they help back, that's kind of the permission to help out. So I don't worry about the few that take without ever a chance of them giving back, because I wouldn't want to change my behavior to the majority of other people.
Okay. So it's the mindset first.
Correct.
Okay.
So and you've got to have some limits. I mean, give once, fine. Give twice, fine. Give a third or fourth time in whatever layer it may be of help. But at some point, if I find myself constantly giving and maybe have made a couple of minor asks, an introduction to somebody, etc., and I don't get some level of cooperation back, it doesn't go unnoticed.
What is it you give? So let's say you get a strategic partner. Like, who are your strategic partners, and what do you give to them? What is it you're giving to get?
So business owners are my primary category.
Okay.
Self-employed business owners from a wide variety of industry, because every one of them, if they're successful, whether they are a fence installing company, a personal injury law firm, etc., if they're doing whatever they're doing well and they've got a list of happy past customers, they have become their own little hub to those people. They've served them. So anyone who is a strong servant to a crowd of happy past customers is a great referral partner.
That's
for
your
me.
ID. So it's not just they're successful, it's that they're sharing your core values. I talked about that in my webinar yesterday. Their core values is they're serving.
Right.
It's not just I'm picking the richest guy and that's who I'm going to go after because they've got a big book. It's no. They share my core values of service.
Correct.
And they've got a past history of that. So they're not new at it.
Correct.
So how do you approach them? How have you been able to have a relationship with those people? Because they're busy.
They're very busy, and the side door path has been where more success has happened for me than
What's
just
that?
going right to the front. For example, in my prior career as a mortgage originator, walking up to a successful functioning agent and saying my rates are the best, my fees are the best. We hear that all day long from everybody everywhere.
Doesn't work. Same thing everyone's saying.
But taking the time to do a little due diligence on an agent and maybe visiting their website, LinkedIn, Google, read about them a little bit and find some true commonality. Maybe you both love paddleboarding. You both have a motorcycle component of what you like to do, and trying to come in with some sort of a side door commonality, but from a point of service. Of course, I'm at that point as a mortgage originator. They knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted, but what I was able to do in return for them was sometimes share the contacts that I had. Occasionally, there were people that they had that their current mortgage person just wasn't willing to work that hard on the no's that could be turned into yeses.
Right.
So availing myself to work hard to try and help them in some way more business.
Okay.
First step. Second step would be to also be there. There are things that I know that others don't. There are things that you know that I don't. There are things that we all know, our unique expertise and experience that can be helpful to people. You don't know until you have a dialogue about
So
that.
how do you get to that dialogue? So I hear what you're saying. You're not just going to them with the same old pitch everyone's got. You're making sure you can help them first. And I said this in my podcast earlier today. It's first we've got to identify we can actually help them. Don't go ask them how you can help them, but actually do the
Show 'em.
research and come and show them. Then you have to establish yourself as credible.
Correct.
So you're following exactly this stuff. That's what I love about you. But you were doing that before you met me.
Correct.
So that's great. How do you what did you show up to their office? I mean, how did you meet these people?
Well, I have the exact answer that you asked for a minute ago.
Yeah.
The very best way to start with someone that you don't know is if you've already got a customer for them. If there was a particular business owner, a boat detailing company that I had identified as someone that operates first off geographically in my market, I don't search after referral relationships up in Spring Hill or down in Terra Verde. I try to stay local in North Pinellas County.
Right.
But if I cross paths with an awesome boat detailer that had a long, happy list of customers, it wouldn't be very hard at all for me to start making some calls to find someone that needed their boat detailed. And now when I reach out to the guy, it's a little different first conversation. Hey, we don't know each other, but I ran across you, and you may not remember me, but you made a great impression on me. And I want to have a dialogue with you, but beforehand, I wanted to bring something into this. I've got a customer that's got a 27-foot down at the marina. They need their detailing done. Is this something you can do?
That's excellent. So that's so fascinating that you said that. What's the help we can give them? It's not a promise of help. It's actually, we've already done the pre-work to help. I hope people are listening to that. That is your to-do. Go find the referral in advance. You know, it's funny, that triggered something with me. One of my best clients, someone I've worked with for 6 years. I've consistently I cold called them, but I cold called them with a referral. Mm-hmm. I called them, and they doctors are their clients. I called them and said, I've got a doctor for you. And by the way, there's a whole lot more where that came from. They were listening mm-hmm. then. And all other attempts before that, they weren't listening. Then I had their attention. Turns out we shared core values. We've had a wonderful relationship for 6 years now, mm-hmm. no turning back. So that's excellent. So that's a great way. So it's not necessarily getting in front of them, promising them the world, doing a song and dance. It's showing up with already the sandwich they want to eat.
Correct.
That's excellent. So I know our time is limited. We're going to have more of these in the future. Michael, talk a little bit, just real quick. I know you're trying to grow the brokerage. Mm-hmm. If I'm an agent, and I love what you're saying, like that's more. I want to hear more from Michael. If I'm an agent and I'm looking for a brokerage, what type of agent should be a member of your team?
Well, I had an interview today at about 11 o'clock with an agent who's mm-hmm. leaving a brokerage, interviewing, that had done a transaction with one of our agents about 1.5 years ago, and he had been considering it that long. So he reached out. I had him to the office this morning, and I find it funny. He's declined in volume through this last year for a few things that had distracted his focus, and the thing he wanted to talk most to me about was, aside from all the other great things you've got, do you provide some leads? Well, and of course we do. We have a very developed
You got a great lead program, yeah.
But by the time I was done talking with this young fella, I said, you don't need me to give you leads. You're already a closer and an initiator and a connector, and you've closed a bunch of business over these last 4 years, but you're not doing a thing to stay front of mind with them. You're not putting any automated information out to them. You're not making 1 or 2 strategic phone calls a year to the top 30 or 40 people. You're certainly not engaging with them to say complimentary things like, I know you know a lot of other people. Might you know any good divorce attorneys or family law attorneys, will, trust, and estate attorneys? I'd love to meet a couple so that I have referral sources when the opportunity comes up, and build off of those hard-earned happy customers, other contacts, to get strategic referral partners in front of you.
So not just looking for another referral, but looking for those people to refer you to the strategic partners that keep on giving.
So he came in thinking he needed referrals and left here with his eyes open twice the size they were when he came in, about the money for him is not going forward on a lead basis. It's to dig into the happy past and build the base.
So that's the thing, a mistake a lot of agents make, right? It's always, they come to me, Thom, I want you to coach me. Tell me how I can get more leads. Tell me I can get more leads. And I go, you've met 50 people you've done business with in the past 2 years. What are you asking me for leads for? You've got the best source right there. When's the last time you talked to these people? I don't want to bother them. They've already bought. You're missing the boat. And what I love what you just said is it's not just calling them to get referrals. And by the way, they do and they get them. But calling them and getting strategic partnerships out of that. That's brilliant. So what I'm hearing you say is if I'm an agent, the reason I come to Action Pro Realty and join the team is because I'm going to get that type of coaching and advice from you. I'm going to get that kind of training from you. I'm going to be in a network with you and other agents that think that way, encourage us that way, keep that focus. And I think that's for the agents that don't want to be constantly hunting leads. It's for the agents that really want a business that they just serve all day. You got to work to get there. Mm-hmm. But I don't know anyone else in real estate who's done that as well as you have, who's not spending the money on the marketing, who's not, you know what I mean? That really has built strategic partnerships. And so I think if someone's looking for a mentor like that, you're the guy. If they're looking for something else, you're not. But if they're looking for that, you're the guy. That said, you also give them a ton of tools, a ton of training, a lot of assistants. You've got Elizabeth helping them. You've got a lot of other reasons too.
Right.
But that is the gift. You know what I mean? That ability to kind of follow in your footsteps and do those things. And it's one thing for people to hear it, think they can go do it. It's another thing to work side by side with someone who's doing it every day and can point out those little nuances that we can't cover in a 12-minute podcast.
So we do have all the bells and whistles that everyone has.
Yeah.
We have a few additionals that we provide to our agents that we have seen really make a difference. But the saying is there's 1,000 different ways to the money in this business. And not to knock any particular company's training curriculum, program, etc., but rarely is it one size fits all. There is a certain number of things that everyone needs to have to become competent. But past there, the excellence in delivering service comes from a unique plan to capitalize on who you are and what you can be to others in the form of service, and to strike that whole sales word out of everything you do and become an excellent servant. And that's how that word spreads and the referrals start flying.
That's right. And it's strategic servant. And I think a lot of them get the heart and they miss the strategy. And you've capitalized on that strategy. Strategic partnerships, once again, work. So Michael is a client of mine. If you would like to be a client of mine, you can easily join one of our group coaching programs. Listen, it costs nothing to try. I mean, it costs you pay $49 to try. That's 100% money back guarantee to do 1 month of group coaching with me. So really, there's no real risk. It's a no risk trial, and then it's $150 a month after that if it's working for you. So you can check that out at strongholdtraining.com. Michael and I are going to be doing more of these, I hope. We got a lot we could talk about. Obviously, we could go into it more, but I think you know what you need to implement now based on this call. Get out there, or based on this podcast. Get out there and find those strategic partnerships. And the way Michael said, find a referral that you can bring to the conversation for that person. That's brilliant. That's well worth the 15 minutes for everyone listening. Thanks so much, Michael, and I look forward to talking to you here again in a couple weeks.
All right, Tom, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.